Good evening. My name is Dwight Sangre. I'm the chair of DRC and would like to call the meeting of September 16, 2024 to order. Before we call the roll, I wanted to make an announcement that one of our commissioners has submitted a statement declaring that there's a potential conflict of interest for her, and therefore she is not here this evening. I wanted to explain why we don't have all of the commissioners in attendance. So with that, Administrative Support Person Calderon, would you please call the roll?
Chair Sangre,
Here.
Vice Chair O'Connor,
Here.
Boones,
Here.
Bates,
Here.
Leek,
Here.
and Lindstrom.
Here.
And it looks like Councilman Raff is not joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you. Are we going to have a report from City Council, an update from City Council? We do not. We have minutes from two meetings. For those of you who are not familiar with the procedures, when there is a very short agenda, for example, simply confirming actions that have taken place in a previous meeting, the Commission DRC meets telephonically. And so we have two sets of minutes tonight to approve, and I'd like first to talk about the minutes at August 5. Anyone have any comments about the minutes of August 5? Someone move to accept them? I'll move to accept the minutes of August 5th. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 The minutes of August 19, the same. Anyone have comments about those minutes? I'll move that they be accepted.
I second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Well, our major issue this evening is a public hearing on LU 240026. And this is a multi-family residential development in the West Lake Grove area. It's at the corner of Sunset Drive and Boones Ferry Road. Many of us know about this. This is a significant project that the City of Lake Oswego and Metro have been working on for some time. And we are going to hear from that team today. But Evan Fransted, who is the senior coordinator in planning, is going to present first. And Evan Boones is going to tell us the rules of the game first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The public hearing process will be as follows. First, a presentation by staff, then testimony by the applicant up to 20 minutes. Then testimony by parties in support of the application, followed by testimony by parties opposed to the application, and finally testimony by those neither for nor against the application. Individuals will be allowed up to 5 minutes. Any person in attendance may cede his or her time for testimony to another person except to the applicant. But in no case shall any person's testimony be increased to greater than 10 minutes. Recognized neighborhood associations, homeowner associations, government or government agencies, or other incorporated public interest organizations will be allowed up to 10 minutes. On the table, there's a timer clock. Green means go, and then it'll count down. Yellow is 30 seconds, and red means stop. The time limits do not include time spent responding to questions from the commission. Testimony by attorneys, representatives, and witnesses on behalf of or which part of the presentation by a person shall be counted within that person's time limit. It is assumed that persons are testifying on their own behalf unless they expressly identify the recognized neighborhood association, homeowner association, government or government agency, or other incorporated public interest organization they're representing. After testimony in favor, opposed, and neither for nor against, in the applicant's rebuttal up to 5 minutes. Then commission deliberation, including a statement to the applicant by the commission of any proposed conditions of approval different than contained in the staff report, and the applicant's response to the commission's conditions of approval proposed following commission deliberation. As stated in the public notice, the deadline for submission of any written materials was noon today. No written materials may be submitted to the commission tonight. Any person may request an opportunity to present additional evidence by requesting a continuation of the public hearing. This land use request is to be based upon the applicable criteria and standards, which the staff report listed the criteria and standards identified by staff as applicable to the request. It was available online and from the Planning Department. Evidence and testimony must be directed towards the applicable criteria. And we ask that you identify to the Commission the criteria standards you're addressing, so the Commission does not have to guess which standards you're testifying about. If you do not identify the criteria standards you're addressing, the Commission is not obliged to consider your testimony in its decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the Commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes raising the issue to the City Council and the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. The failure of the applicant to raise any constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with specificity to allow the Commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in Circuit Court. Potential conflict of interest declared on behalf of each of the DRC members to the extent of their business or employment, which each will identify. Unless declared otherwise, the respective DRC member does not have a known, present, or anticipated future business relationship with the project or the applicant. It is possible that a future business relationship could arise the initiation, design, construction, or maintenance of the project through either the employment or business of the DRC member personally, or through a relative as defined in ORS 244-020. At this point, I would ask these Commission members to please declare if you've had any ex parte contacts, including a site visit, if you have any bias on the application, any financial conflicts of interest, and please state your business employment. Commissioner Dews.
Yep. My name is John Dews. I'm a retired architect, and I do drive by the site probably daily, but I haven't made a formal site visit in regards to this development. And I have not had any ex parte contacts. I have no bias, nor do I have any financial conflict.
My name is Helen Leake, and I am a real estate broker. I know the site very well because I was involved with it during the Planning Commission phase when I was chair of the Planning Commission. I've had no ex parte communication. I know of the parties involved. I have no financial or conflict of interest, and I have no bias.
My name is Russ O'Connor. I'm a retired project manager. I have had no ex parte contact. I'm familiar with the site. In fact, my dentist is next door. I have no bias, no financial conflict.
My name is Dwight Sangre. I'm a retired civil engineer. I'm familiar with the site. I have not made a site visit. I have had no ex parte discussions relating to this site. I have no professional or financial relationship to the site or any of the parties involved, and I consider that I have no bias.
My name is Larry Lindstrom. I'm a construction executive. I am familiar with the location, but have not visited the site regarding this case. I have not had any ex parte communication. I do not know the parties involved. I do not have any financial interest or conflict of interest, and I do not have any bias.
My name is Kristen Bates. I'm a real estate attorney. I have had no ex parte contact with regard to this site. I'm familiar with the site generally, but I have no conflict, no bias, and I have no pecuniary or financial interests.
Thank you. Is there any challenge to a commissioner's right to consider the application? Hearing none, Evan Fransted, Senior Planner with the staff report, please.
Evan. No?
No? I don't know. I've never used this. Takes it a minute. Testing. There we go. All right. Thank you, Mr. Boone and members of the commission. The applicant is requesting approval of a development review permit for a 55-unit multifamily building located in the Westlake Grove Design District and removal of 4 trees. A little closer. Is that better?
That's
Yes.
better, Evan. I think if you were to be a little closer to the mic, that would help.
Okay, I'll try. First time with this mic. All right, the purpose of my presentation is to provide a summary of the staff report as published on September 6th. Since the staff report was published, 3 additional public comments were received as of noon today. They're entered into the record as exhibits G002, G500, and G501. I will discuss each comment in my presentation. Here's the location map. The site is currently vacant. It is approximately 1.33 acres in size with frontage on Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive. The site consists of 6 tax lots that will be consolidated into one lot as part of the project, as required with condition A1. The site is zoned WLG-OC and is located in the West Lake Grove Design District. Properties to the north, east, and south are zoned WLG-OC and WLG-R.2.5, developed with commercial buildings and residential dwellings. Properties to the west are located in WLG-RMU zone, developed with commercial and residential dwellings. The site has a use-specific standard that limits the use of the site to multifamily residential that must consist of 20 units or more, where at least 10% of the units are not more than 30% of the income level that is 80% of the area median income according to Clackamas County Housing Authority income limits for affordable housing adjusted for household size. The proposal includes 55 units. The applicant states the project will provide at least a minimum of 10 of the 55 units at 30% of the area median income, exceeding the minimum 6 required. And the remaining units will be dedicated for families of varied income levels at or below 60% area median income. Here's a site plan. Shows a building footprint, parking lot with 40 parking spaces, play area to the west of the building along with stormwater management, street trees, street lights, and sidewalks along Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive are provided. 6 parking spaces will be installed in the right-of-way along West Sunset Drive. There are 2 plazas, one on the corner with access to the main building entrance, and one from the parking lot to the northwest building entrance. Here's a more detailed site plan that shows dimensions for building setbacks, parking lot dimensions, which are meant for the parking standards, a 24-foot wide easement for future parking lot, drive aisle connecting to the site to the west. The project is providing 16 parking spots with capacity for electrical service. The site plan shows, the project is required to provide 16. The site plan shows 15 electrical service parking spaces. Condition A2 requires the applicant to provide 1 more parking space and submit a final site plan that shows 16 parking spaces with capacity for electrical service. The project is required to provide 14 parking spaces with at least 50% of them undercover. The applicant is providing 6 undercover parking spaces located near the corner courtyard and 8 covered parking spaces in the north courtyard. The building complies with the yard setbacks and build-to line along the corner of Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive. Public comment G500 and G501 were submitted in opposition. G500 expresses concerns regarding insufficient parking. As the commenter states in the comment, there is no minimum parking requirements for affordable housing. Therefore, the appropriate number of parking spaces and management of the parking is up to the applicant. There's no standard for it. Comments G500 and G501 express concern regarding traffic impacts. The commenters do not cite any standards that are not met. The applicant submitted a traffic study, Exhibit F6. The engineering staff concurs with the applicant's traffic impact analysis and its findings. So on to the building design. This is the northeast building perspective. This is viewed from the corner of Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive. As you can see, the plaza and entrance are visible from the corner. Here's the building elevation plan, which has more detail called out, including specific materials, roof slope of 10-12, building height of 40 feet, meeting the maximum height standard. The applicant has selected the clear and objective arts and crafts style to comply with the WLG overlay. The building meets our arts and crafts style by providing asymmetrical composition, building roofs with a pitch of 10-12, exterior building materials with brick and horizontal lap siding, casement windows with multi-paned glazing. Here's the opposite end, the southwest elevation. This shows darker brick along the base and upper floors. And here's the southwest perspective drawing along elevation along Boones Ferry Road. It shows the change in wall plane, street trees, street light, and pathway. Here's the elevation plan. The project meets the clear and objective housing design standards for multifamily building by providing building articulation along the street facing southeast and northeast building elevations, providing a minimum 2-foot horizontal change in building plane at least every 30 feet, with building recesses measuring more than 6 feet in width and with Juliet balconies. Here's the northwest, opposite side. Likewise, the northwest provides articulation every 40 feet with building recesses measuring more than 6 feet in width and Juliet balconies. The roof line articulation corresponds with the facade articulation at least every 30 feet with horizontal offsets at the ridge line. 2 primary building entrances are located on the east and south facades, include canopies and a recess a minimum of 2 feet behind the building facade. For the middle of the building, which are the second and third floor, all windows are vertically oriented and have a vertical to horizontal dimension of at least 1.5 to 1 and provide at least 30% glazing along the street-facing facades. The building facades have a change in exterior brick type and color lap siding between the ground floor and upper floors. And here's the building materials board. This is the brick one that shows the corium brick cladding system. Public comment exhibit G002, which was submitted today, is submitted neither for nor against the application, but cites LOC 50.05.005.9A4, which is the WLG Clear and Objective Housing Purpose Statement that states the provisions are intended to ensure the creation of a built environment complementary to the existing character of Lake Grove. The commenter expressed concern for the consistency of building materials, particularly of the degree of variation of color tone for light brick number 2 between building elevation plans and artistic renderings. So the area of concern is this perspective drawing, which seems to show on the upper floors a different color variation in the brick material on second and third floors. Then you go to the elevation plan and it's just a flat brick color, no variation in color. And then you go to the building materials board for light brick number 2, number 4 up there in the top right, and it's just one color. So the commenter wants a higher degree of contrast as shown in artistic rendering, the first one I showed you, with mixed color bricks similar to the Sunset Crossing building across West Sunset Drive. The purpose statement of the WLG Clear and Objective Standards provide context to criteria, but is not a criterion itself. Therefore, the purpose statement does not apply. We can't use it as a standard. As you see, the bricks do not vary in color from brick to brick along light brick number 2. There's no standard that requires the cladding to vary in color on the same floor. Only a change in exterior cladding or detailing or materials between the ground floor and upper floors are required, which they do provide. So the requirement to have different color bricks on second and third floor is just, there isn't one. And so moving along to the floor plan, here's a first floor plan that gives you an idea of the layout of the building. The building includes 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. The main entrance opens to a vestibule. Trash and recycling will be located inside. There is a multi-purpose room for residents. Other rooms include offices, mechanical, electrical rooms for staff. And here's the mechanical. This is a roof plan that shows the mechanical equipment will be located in a roof well that will screen it from appearance from the street. And here's the tree removal plan. There are 14 trees that are at or 6 inches in diameter on the site. The applicant is proposing to remove 4 trees for construction of the proposed building, parking lot, and public improvements. Additionally, 6 invasive trees and 1 dead tree will be applied for removal with invasive and dead tree removal permits separate from this application. 3 substantial existing Douglas fir trees will be retained in the play area. Staff finds that none of the trees proposed for removal are significant and that the removal of the trees will not have a significant negative impact on the character or aesthetics of the neighborhood. Staff concludes that proposed tree removal complies with the tree removal criteria. And here's a landscaping plan. This shows the project includes a minimum 20% of the site landscaping with 66 trees, including 18 native trees, shrubs, and ornamental grasses. The landscaping includes a 15-foot landscaping buffer abutting the residential properties to the west. Parking lot landscaping with planters, a 5-foot landscaping area with shade trees planted every 30 feet fronting West Sunset Drive. 11 street trees along Boones Ferry Road. 5 street trees are proposed along West Sunset Drive. And finally, here's the open space and landscaping plan. Multifamily residential is required to provide a minimum 20% open space and 20% landscaping for a total of 40% of the site. This plan shows the project includes 40.82% open space and landscaping in compliance with the standard. And in conclusion, the staff recommends approval subject to the conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Is the brick in panels, or is this individual bricks?
It's a whole system. It's according, the applicant, I'm sure, can provide more details about how it works. It's like a tile system where they install it.
So it's more of a facade, it's not a structural, or
It's not traditional brick, no.
it's not traditional brick? Okay, and what is a Juliet balcony?
A Juliet balcony, it's more a decorative balcony that you don't go out into. It's just for decoration.
Are the windows that open onto these balconies sliding doors, or they're just windows? And the Juliet balconies are just there for fenestration relief or something?
Yeah, they're just windows. You can kind of see if I can point them out to you. Where's the best one?
I think the
guess-
Boones Ferry view shows it best.
Where am I? Boones Ferry. Yeah, if I can try to highlight it here.
So
Yeah,
they're
it's
just,
right there. They're just,
I see what they are,
it's
but
just
you
for
can't,
windows. Yeah, it's not
They're
something you
just-
can walk out into.
they're not sliding doors to them.
No, they're just windows.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding the traffic study.
Okay.
I didn't see any mention regarding the train. Is there any coordination that comes into consideration with the heavy traffic during the train? There's an adjacent project happening on the south side of Boones there. It's a newer, I think it's also an affordable housing project. But when that gets narrowed down to one lane, especially school getting out or school buses, people getting off work along those lines, and then when the train happens, that turns into a bottleneck where people are stuck for literally 20 to 30 minutes at a time. I don't know if that comes into consideration with the traffic study, and as well as as we're pre-planning, getting into the logistical section with the pre-construction meeting. For load in, load out of materials, are they planning on blocking the road? Is it gonna be shut down to one lane? Are you guys gonna put in restrictions that all trucks are offloaded on that road that's adjacent there, the Sunset Drive, as opposed to trying to offload from the street? You know, so I'm just asking some questions here regarding that, because it's gonna impact a lot of people. You're gonna have a lot of people frustrated if they're sitting for 25 minutes trying to go pick up their kids, so.
Okay. Well, I'll turn it over to Will Flowerly. He's our traffic engineer.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. The traffic study wouldn't have taken any consideration of the train schedule. That's something that almost all traffic has to deal with, and it's not one that's above and beyond what you generally have to go through. As for construction traffic, they have not submitted plans for construction yet. We would review that under temporary traffic control, and that would be part of the construction meeting of what are the approved routes for truck traffic to come to the site. Very likely it will not be going down West Sunset. They will be using the major arterial of Boones Ferry Road to get to and from the site, maybe with a little portion along the frontage of their site, but we would not have any intention of having construction traffic traveling west of there.
And I guess I would add the construction, there's construction is a short-term thing. Then there's the long-term traffic question. These standards address the long-term traffic. We don't get into the traffic control mechanisms during construction. Okay.
Understood.
Engineering, engineering has a traffic control person that review the traffic control plans, that sort of thing for that. But, so that's not one of these standards.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? I have a question. Mr. Fransted, you had a very long list of conditions that are being recommended as requirements for the eventual approval. Are any of those worth spending a few minutes discussion with us? Any of those conditions unusual to this particular project compared with others?
No, not really. I mean, they're all pretty basic conditions that we require for any building of this size. And I mean, there is the notice of development restriction condition that's specific for affordable housing. We notify, they're required to record a notice of development restriction that goes on the deed. But otherwise, I mean, it's all pretty basic.
Yeah.
So if you have a question on one specifically, I can.
I really don't, and I reached the same conclusion you did, that we have seen all those before, but since any action that we take will have to specifically reference and acknowledge agreement with all your conditions, I wanted to make sure that those are, as you said, pretty standard conditions. Thank you.
I guess I would just add, this project was built under the clear and objective standards of the Westlake Grove Design District. And so the only real question on conditions of approval is where did the application not meet one of those clear and objective criteria?
Right.
So you look at the application, if it meets it, there's no condition.
Right.
I have another question. The charging station parking spaces, how will that work? Are they open to the public, or are they specific just to this project?
Well, the requirement is that they have a certain number of parking spaces that can provide electrical service. But this is a private development. It's not a public parking lot. Yeah, I guess it's up to them if they want to open to the public, but no, it's a private development.
And if someone is charging and then goes upstairs and has dinner, and there's only 40 parking slots, when they're done charging, are they to move?
The code doesn't require them to. It doesn't get into those kinds of specifics. This is a standard that was adopted at the state level that we adopted as well.
Okay.
Follow-up question on the charging. Will the chargers be installed, or are you fitting it up so you're charger ready?
It's for electrical service ready. It doesn't say they have to have chargers.
So there isn't really 16 parking spaces that are for charging, unless there's a charger there.
It has electrical capacity to have chargers in the future. That's the requirement from the state.
But the developer is not putting them in.
There's no requirement for the chargers to be installed.
I believe it's stated in here within the conditions that it's just utility stubbed for future development. I believe that's how it's worded, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that's correct.
That is
That's how the ORS states it.
To summarize it, the ORS requires there to be for it to be plumbed, okay? But it does not require it to be built. So when you're looking at the standards or criteria as to whether or not this application meets it, the question is it plumbed? Whether they choose to build it or not, that's not a standard or criteria.
I got a comment piggybacking on that right there, though. Also, didn't you not say that they're not required to supply parking with it being a affordable housing project?
There's no minimum parking requirement.
Okay.
But they are providing parking, so the number of parking spaces they do provide, a certain number of those have to be electrical.
Okay. So that's how it
That's how it
qualifies
works.
to hit that. Okay, I understand completely. Thank you.
Commissioners have any other questions? Well, I guess we would like to hear from the applicant.
Big fan of the
Again, Attorney Boone, if you could help them.
When you start, the green light will start, if that's what you're asking.
Thank you, members of the Lake Oswego Design Review Commission, for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Diana Nunez-Cáceres, and I serve as Hacienda's Chief Operating Officer. Hacienda CDC deeply appreciates the chance to collaborate on such a vital project for this community. We have always been committed to developing quality, affordable housing, and we're thrilled to extend the commitment to Lake Oswego and Lake Grove. For over 30 years, Hacienda CDC has been at the forefront of affordable housing development in the metro region, providing not just homes, but pathways for families to build vibrant, thriving communities. Our approach integrates housing with culturally relevant programs, empowering residents with resources they need to succeed. Our partnership with Lake Oswego represents an exciting opportunity to bring 55 new affordable units to the area, addressing a critical need for housing diversity. We believe that affordable housing is a crucial part of a healthy, inclusive community, and we are dedicated to ensuring that these homes meet the highest standards of design, sustainability, and livability. We understand the importance of this review process and are committed to working closely with the Commission to ensure that the design of the project reflects both the character and the aspirations of Lake Oswego. Our goal is to create a project that seamlessly integrates into the community while offering high-quality, affordable homes. Once again, thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to the collaboration. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Kevin.
Thank you again, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Chavez. I'm with Hacienda CDC, and I'm a project manager for this project. And I'd like to introduce the project named El Nido. El Nido, in Spanish, that means the nest. And as you will see, it's aptly named El Nido because the project aims to be a haven for residents as a place for individuals and families to be nourished so they can thrive. The name was chosen deliberately to reflect the ethos of the project. Just as a nest provides safety, warmth, and support for its inhabitants, El Nido establishes a support network within the community and for the community. The name pays homage also to its natural surroundings and embodies the spirit of family and belonging that Hacienda strives to cultivate. Moved ahead one slide a little bit too quickly, but again, just to describe El Nido. So El Nido is proposed on a site that was recently used for the construction staging at the intersection of Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive in the city's Lake Forest neighborhood and falls within the West Lake Grove Design District. The city had identified the roughly 1.3 acre property as a suitable location for the development of multifamily affordable housing. And through the partnership of Metro, the City of Lake Oswego, and the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, and with targeted outreach to communities of colors, we anticipate serving a mix of families, including individuals and families experiencing or facing imminent displacement. To introduce the development team, we have Hacienda CDC, which will be the developer and service provider, McKinsey Inc. and Access Architecture as the design team, Colas Construction as our general contractor, and New Narrative will also be a partner service provider. Tonight, we also have MKE as consultants of the design team, and Place is our landscape architects. And I believe that that's everything I wanted to share. Just echoing the site design, I'll pass it over to the design team. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, question?
Yes.
Who is financing this?
Oh, great, thank you. So this is funded through a LIHTC deal, a 4% LIHTC deal, including Metro Regional Bond Funds. And we're, of course, exploring other capital stacks for sustainability.
I don't understand any of that. Break it down.
So the funding for the project is through equity for affordable housing, through low-income housing tax credits, paired with Metro bond funds to provide for the development of the project.
So there's no bank behind this?
We have not partnered with a lender at this point for a permanent or construction. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Good evening. My name is Brian Vericchione. I am a planner at McKinsey. I wanted to walk you through a little bit of the site plan. You've seen it before because Evan shared it, but some of what we wanted to talk about was just, the challenging process that it took to advance the design. The site's triangular, which always makes things interesting. We prefer rectangular shapes because then everything can be parallel. On the other hand, having an unusual shaped site also makes for a very interesting design process and intellectually stimulating, so that's good in other ways. But, having Boones Ferry Road at an angle there made for some challenges in laying out the site. As you can see, the building is placed with its long edge parallel to Boones Ferry Road, as that's the most prominent side, since Boones Ferry Road is the major road through there. And then the public entrance is on the north side at the intersection of Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive. Some of the things that we kind of had to work our way through was that not only was it triangular, but it got smaller as we went in order to dedicate the right-of-way necessary to widen both of the abutting streets, including leaving enough room so that in the future, if the need should arise, there could be 2 turn lanes on West Sunset Drive where it meets Boones Ferry Road. So that was something that Will and his team wanted to see that fit geometrically in there. There are also 3 significant trees that were preserved. Those are amenities not only for the site itself, but for the surrounding neighborhoods. And so that's marked on the site plan as the nature-based play area. And the idea is that children can move amongst those trees, which will remain in place. And the idea is not to pave the area under and put in a concrete play area or anything with that, but it's going to be surfaced, with bark chips and other such things so that rainwater can still make its way to the roots. The stormwater management facility at the south end is kind of that'll be visible and vegetated. And so we had to make sure it was adequately separated from the building so that it wouldn't undermine the foundation, but also sufficiently spaced from the abutting property lines. The city has standards on that too, because they don't want to wash out the neighbors' properties either. So with all that, it made for an interesting process. Some other things that were varying across the site were setbacks. There's requirements that the building be pushed up to the sidewalk along Boones Ferry Road and West Sunset Drive near the corner. And then as you get farther away, there's a requirement that it be set back 6 feet. And so that's why there's a bit of a jog in the building outline, as you can see. I will say that Evan and his team did a good job of keeping us honest, particularly since we're applying for the clear and objective standards. There wasn't any way where we could try to convince him, did something meet the intent or the guideline, because it's very black and white in the code. And we chose that path intentionally, knowing that once we got to yes, we could all agree that it was yes. And so fortunately, with a little nudging here and there, we got there eventually. So, that comes into place with the setbacks, the articulation, the landscape percentage, the open space percentage. All these things took several iterations for us to get right. And so, but now we've demonstrated that we do meet the code, and happy to say we've reached that point. With respect to the site orientation, as Evan noted, the driveway location's on West Sunset Drive, and that's pushed as far to the west as feasible in order to provide sufficient space for vehicles to get in there when there's traffic at the traffic signal, and that it wouldn't block traffic coming in and out. I think that's all I'm going to talk about for the site plan. I'm going to turn it over to Julie, who will talk more about design stuff.
Yes.
I have a question about the site plan. Where is the sewer line, and will it be taken all the way to the end of the property on West Sunset Drive?
Boy, I didn't memorize where the sewer line is. I will tell you that the site formerly had buildings on it, so there's some existing sewer stubs into the site. It does flow, the main line is in Boones Ferry Road, and there's stubs into the site. So we're proposing to reuse those. The city said, okay, maybe. They want them inspected with a TV camera and such to make sure that they're in good shape. If they are, great, we can use them. If not, then we'll have to do some excavation.
So you don't really know where the existing sewer lines are that are servicing the building?
If you give me a moment to look at my drawing, I can find out.
So they're on Boones Ferry, so nothing will be brought up Sunset for the benefit of West Sunset Drive residents?
Not for sanitary sewer. Now, there is a requirement recommended in the conditions of approval that the storm drainage line, which currently ends 100 some feet from our west property line, there's a requirement that that be extended to the west property line so that in the future, other properties could connect to that storm line.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think that's all, Julie.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be in front of you, Commissioners. Julie Bradshaw with McKinsey, architect and project manager, part of the McKinsey Access Design team. To demonstrate what Brian has been talking about with the collaboration with both the community and the city, I'd like to highlight two key aspects of the project, the entry plaza and the building form, as well as discuss the material palette. Each of these elements emphasize the building's character as well as its integration into the fabric with Lake Grove. For the plaza, the south portion of the building is shifted to the south to create a space to welcome residents along Boones Ferry and Sunset Drive that welcomes the residents in the community. And through the coordination with the city engineering and planning, the plaza is able to provide 3 points of entry along the steep grade that's happening there. 2 of those are accessible, and one of them is stairs. The plaza itself is visible from the street for that key element as people are driving by on Boones Ferry, as well as safely separating the visitors and residents from the street with the low plantings and seating that are a part of the edge of the plaza. The building form is divided along its length into 2 gables, allowing the roof to be half as high as it would be if the roof was a single span over the entire width, which brings a compatible scale to the building with the neighboring buildings. Similarly, the building shifts back from the street along the length of the site and the building can feel like 2 buildings rather than one building along the entire length of the site, sort of like 2 members of the same family. Adding to the feel of the 2 siblings is the material color palette. At the north portion of the building, the brick is of warm tones with a natural variation of the brick, and the material that's integrated throughout. The material integrated throughout the recessed portions is distinct siding patterns of shiplap and lap siding in a charcoal color. As you move towards the south of the building, that material palette of the brick at the projected zones and the charcoal at the recessed zones inverts, and then there is a charcoal colored brick at the projections and a warm tone of a lap siding in the recesses. And in discussion of that brick, it is a thin brick type system but instead of being a structural brick that's stacked or an adhered brick, it is attached to a railing system that then, in a way, clicks in to a cladding system that allows for the brick to act as what's called a rain screen, allowing the brick to shed the water and the rain that comes at it from the bulk, but at the back side, it lets it drain and dry and do the proper building breathing while still keeping the building airtight and thermally enclosed.
So, but the material itself is brick?
Yes, it is a brick.
It's not a plastic or a composite to look like brick?
No, it is a fired clay brick.
Does it come in sheets, 4 by 8? How is it?
It comes in, the modular face of it is the same size as a standard brick. And then the thickness of it has 3 thicknesses. One is very small at about 5/8, and then it increases by about 1/4 inch for the 2 other sizes. And the reason I mention those sizes is if you look at the elevation and the rendering, you see the relief on the building with the patterning at the corners and over the front entry. And we're utilizing the feature of that brick to create a relief and detailing on the building.
So it's actually installed piece by piece onto that weather screening behind it?
Yes, it is. It has a railing system and it clips in. Compared to standard masonry, it can actually go fairly quickly.
Right. And probably a whole lot less labor costs.
Excuse me, so the match point is the mortar, edge of the mortar to an edge of a brick?
Yes, the gaps are filled with mortar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as far as wrong direction. As far as the material of the brick, these are representative. The brand of the brick that's represented here is Corium. There is also a brand that we will be specifying as an open specification of Glengarry that has very similar colors that are color matched that will allow the contractor to get competitive pricing. But we will be keeping very close attention to the family of colors and the intent that we've shown here. And I believe I've reached the end of my presentation along with the questions.
You don't want to talk about the lap
Oh,
side?
well, thank you. I appreciate that. We have so much focus on the brick and so many questions about it. The lap siding, for the base of the building, we've selected shiplap siding. And for the upper of the building, we've selected lap siding. And both of these will be fiber cement materials. And they would be painted of colors that would be in keeping with the brick colors, as I mentioned before. Forward. There we go.
All
There's the
right.
end.
So that concludes our presentation, but we're happy to answer any questions that commissioners may have for us.
Yes?
I was wondering, what's the rated lifespan on the exterior materials, the brick and the fiber cladding?
Don't have the specific manufacturer's rated lifespan, but
Yeah.
the fiber cement lap siding is a well-known durable material for many elements here. The ratings, as far the warranties vary per manufacturer, but we would be looking for a durable material in the fiber cement. The brick is very comparable to standard brick. As far as the exterior face, it will act the same as a brick and mortar system. The cladding portion of it will is is a railing, steel railing system that's attached to the structure of the building and would withstand the rain and the exposure. As far as a warranty, that's negotiable with the manufacturer. But it is a long-rated system of upward of decades.
Have you used it before?
We have examples here in this area of we've identified the Corium system here. I haven't received examples yet of the Glengarry system, but there are installations in the area of these type of systems. Our company hasn't installed this specific system, but we've installed many rain screen systems that are very similar to this.
What is the roofing material?
Asphalt shingles.
Like an architectural 50-year? And are there in fact going to be solar panels?
Yes, there are solar panels on the building. The goal is to essentially cover almost every available area with solar panels. And the current estimations are that the solar panels will be able to meet the energy needs of the project.
So the solar panels will be providing power to the building or to the inhabitants? You have building lighting and motors and stuff like that.
So the standard way that solar power works here in this area is that the power is sold back to the grid, but Hacienda has made an initiative that the utilities will be inclusive of the package of, and so power and heat will not be a separate cost for the residents.
Will they also be using the solar panels for hot water?
Yeah, the hot water will be an electric system.
Cool.
Commissioner Lindstrom?
I had more of a comment than a question, just back to the other commissioners. So the brick product's a durable product, lasts forever. I've used it on many projects, development projects, multiple family projects. It's pretty commonly used. You'll even see it on residential spaces. That's like a panel system, like they were talking. Acid wash it, stain it, paint it, do whatever. It's waterproof, lasts forever. I fully support that design. It's durable.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, that's good information to have, because we've seen products in the past that aren't so good.
Oh, absolutely. So you won't even be able to tell, sorry, I don't mean to get too deep in the weeds here with the detail, but the product itself, you will not be able to tell that it's a panel system or a panelized type system, except at the terminations. And you'll only be able to tell until the finished caulking and sealant is installed. Then it'll look like every other brick building that's standing in Lake Oswego. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Dews, you okay? Good.
Mr. Chair, I was looking at my notes, and there was a question earlier about EV charging. The applicant is proposing to have 4 fully operational electric vehicle charging spaces, and then an additional 12 that will be plumbed, as Attorney Boone likes to say, so that they could be converted into charging stations in the future.
Will any of those charging stations be on the 6 parking spaces on West Sunset? Or will they all be internal?
They're internal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Mr. Calderon, where do we stand with the current list of people who have signed up to speak either in support or opposition or not at all, including anybody who's called in? Do we have any?
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Seeing that we have 6 minutes and 30 seconds, I just want
sorry.
one more statement if I could.
We would love to hear from you. I apologize.
That's okay. I appreciate the time and consideration. just wanted to reflect on, or actually address the comment over the brick and the concern that there were two different images provided, one that has a little bit more contrast, kind of a three-tone, and one that is a little bit more homogeneous. We really do want to complement the surrounding community and the style. What you didn't see is that the renderings, wash out and create flat surfaces or flat tones. The idea is to really use a brick that expresses the uniqueness of masonry, that has a variation of tone, and for the record, that's our intent for the base and the middle part. Anyway, again, thank you for the consideration. Just wanted to add that comment.
Beautiful question. As long as you're there.
Yes, yeah.
So no one's talked about the floor plan inside.
Oh, yeah.
One elevator
One elevator, yes, yeah.
for 55 units.
That's right.
And I guess, the first floor doesn't count, so maybe for 40 units or something.
Yeah.
And how big is this elevator?
The elevator is a standard commercial elevator. Of course, it's not a freight elevator, right? So you're not moving large equipment in that, but it is a standard commercial size elevator to be able, residents will be able to use that elevator to move their furniture, whatever, sorts of appliances or bedroom furnishings they have. Yeah.
Seems a little sparse.
I think I'm just going to remind the commission, we haven't identified any standards or criteria that discuss the size of elevators or the requirements for elevators. So that's a little, again, the question is building on clear and objective standards. The question is, have they met those standards? Not what we wish the project would be, as if we were the developer. We're looking at our standards.
Thank you.
All right.
Excuse me, is your presentation completed now?
It is. Thank you.
Thanks
we're
very
done
much,
with
and
the,
again, I apologize for cutting you off.
No, that's all right. Thank you.
Back to our question to Administrator Calderon. Do we have a list of people who wish to speak, either telephonically or in person?
Yes, we had two individuals sign up to testify. Jeff Schroep, who has not joined via Zoom, but we do have Kelly McCall on.
And Christina, I'm sorry, did you identify these people in support of? Where are we in the support, opposition, neither for nor against?
Both individuals that signed up are opposed.
Opposed. So do we have, the first question is, do we have any in support? Get that? None?
None in support.
Okay, thank you.
And in opposition, we have one of the two who is connecting in, and you're trying to facilitate that?
Yes, but she's not responding.
Has the person in opposition submitted a written comment, do you know? No. What?
Yep, that's correct. She did submit, that's exhibit.
Yeah, we did. You got a couple of comments just today, is that correct?
Right, those came in today before noon. Let me pull up just make sure which one it is. Yes, G500 is Kelly McCall's testimony, written testimony.
Yep. Yep. Are we not going to be able to connect? We'll give it a couple of more minutes to see if you could connect. Is anyone in the audience inclined to make a comment this evening? Yes.
up there? You want me to speak?
Oh, I'm just was trying to see if there was anyone.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Nope. Okay, I think we tried, and now could you, it's all right, Evan, right? Just invite you to come up and state your name and what you're prepared to advocate, support, opposition, or
Well,
neither.
we've passed the support.
Yeah,
Nobody said they wanted to testify in support.
okay.
So I assume you're either in opposition?
I'm neither.
You're neither.
I'm neither.
Oh,
Okay. Anybody wish to testify in opposition? Hearing none, we're neither for nor against. Thank
no,
you.
so now you're neither for nor against.
Well, I
Please.
just would like a little clarification.
Yes, state your name, please.
Steve Kerr, K-A-E-R. I own some commercial buildings just a couple blocks away. And I think that I wasn't going to say too much because when we built our buildings, Hamid was instrumental in making sure they were really well done. And he did a great job. We love the buildings. And now knowing that he was involved with this made me feel much better because he knows the rules. I think my concern, and again, it's neither for or against, because I think diversity in housing is very important. But after the building is done, and all the McKinsey goes away, and all of this goes away, my only concern is just the management of the project. I'm sure it's been vetted. I'm sure they're going to do a great job. I'm a little concerned about parking, because I've got a really nice parking lot, and I just don't want it to be full all the time. And I just want to make sure it's, and I know it, by all the good work you guys are doing, it's going to be really good for Oswego. I just want to make sure in 50 years it's still good for Oswego. That's all. Because it is, Boones Ferry Road is, it's come a whole long ways in the 60-some years I've been here. And I just want to make sure in 60 years for my kids and grandkids that they're experiencing the same thing. So that's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah, are you familiar with Hacienda? Have you any?
No, I'm not, but Hamid speaks very highly of them. And so my, my opinion of them right now is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hacienda's in for the long
great
term, right?
presentations, yeah. So that's all. That's the only thing I wanted to say. I'd feel bad if I didn't say something about, but I do think we need diversity in Oswego, and I think this is a great spot for it. Just want to make sure that it's, that everything is talked about here is continued on when all of us are gone.
Well, we appreciate especially a neighbor and a commercial neighbor with
Yep.
the sensitivity to that. This is a remarkably small number of people speaking from the community, so I appreciate that you've come forward and
I appreciate
offer
the
that.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
If no other, all right, no other persons in neither for nor against. Hearing that, to the applicant, do you wish rebuttal? No rebuttal? All right. Prior to closing the public hearing, any person may request an opportunity to present additional evidence. If a request is made, the public hearing will be continued to a date certain, not less than 7 days later, or the record will remain open for at least 7 days after the public hearing, to enable additional written evidence or testimony to be submitted, and the commission would establish the period for any rebuttal written evidence to be submitted. Is there a request to present additional evidence? Hearing none. Unless waived by the applicant, the commission would allow the applicant 7 days after the record is closed to all of the parties to submit final written argument in support of the application. This information would be considered part of the record, but would not include any new evidence. Does the applicant wish to submit final written argument, which would delay the consideration of the matter? None? Thank you. Mr. Chair, you may proceed with deliberation.
Colleagues, we have a two-step process. First, let's have discussion among ourselves about what we have heard, how we would measure that against these clear and objective standards. And if we reach a conclusion, I'd welcome a motion, and we will have a vote on this. First, comments. Commissioner Dews.
Yeah, I want to thank the applicant for this project. I'm very, I appreciate the sensitivity of the design, of the materials, the architectural elements that are unique to this. And to your point, it's difficult on a triangular site trying to work a project, but also taking into account the compatibility with some of the designs of the adjacent buildings. So I appreciate that very much. I think that's going to add to just the overall ambiance of Boones Ferry. Most importantly, though, I'm just very excited with, as has been pointed out by one of the other commissioners, that we have Habitat for Humanity working on a project pretty close across the street from there. And now with this affordable housing, I think that's just an exciting and terrific improvement for the city of Lake Oswego. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate city staff and everyone in bringing this project forward. And I'm very much in favor of it.
Commissioner Leek.
I think you guys did a great job with the design, sensitivity to the site, materials, and to Mr. Kerr's comments about longevity of the aesthetics. That's why I was quizzing you about that material, because I don't do this kind of stuff, because I really think it's important that this be a really favorable statement when it's all complete and it's 20 years down the road and I'm not here to complain about it. So I think you did a great job. You took what do they call it, a pig's ear, and made a silk purse out of it. But on the other hand, you were given the land, so you did a great job. And I think it'll be a wonderful addition to our community. Thank you. You could have added another elevator.
Well, I echo what the other commissioners here are saying. I think the design and the materials are in harmony with what we see as we drive down Boones Ferry. Obviously, there's the advantage of all the updates that have been done on Boones Ferry with the road and the sidewalks, so that just enhances the ability of the residents to, access services and restaurants and such in Lake Oswego. I think the big thing that we don't often have an opportunity to review is seeing our community grow. Yes, we're adding this building or adding that, but this is an opportunity to get more diversity, more culture. It's a very good thing. I really support that. Thank you.
Well, I too am very enthusiastic about supporting this project. I appreciate how much time, obvious time and effort our city staff have put into making this an exciting project and presenting it well. And so I'm going to be prepared to vote if someone would make a motion.
I would propose that we move to vote on LU 260026.
And with all of the conditions that are articulated in the staff report.
That is correct.
Yes. Second to
I'll
that.
second that.
Administrator Calderon, please call the roll.
Sangre?
Aye. Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Bates?
Yes.
Leek?
Yes.
And Lindstrom?
Aye, yes.
Okay, 6-0.
I make that unanimous at 6 for those attending, right?
Yes.
All right.
It was a preliminary decision of the commission with written findings brought back on October the 7th. I think Community Development Director Namanalu wants to ask you about timing.
There are no other hearings scheduled in October. And so for your meeting on the 7th, the only item on your agenda would be the adoption of the findings, conclusion, and order. And so as has been custom, we'd like to offer you to meet virtually and earlier too, perhaps at 6 p.m. if the commission chooses so, since that's the only item on your agenda.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer. Everybody in agreement, 6
Yes.
o'clock on the 7th telephonically, and we will deal with this at that time. And if there is any change in the meantime, you'll certainly let us know. I heard you say that we also are not anticipating a meeting later in October.
As of right now, you do not have any other hearings that would be scheduled in October.
Good.
I'm not, at this point, not in November either, but that can change. So
Right,
we'll certainly keep you updated as we usually do.
Good. Thank you very much. Anything else to come before the commission this evening?
Schedule update, I guess we just had, so.
If not, thank you very much again to the staff for doing such a good job for us. Call the meeting adjourned. It's the first time I've used that.
Glad you didn't hit the glass. So glad you didn't hit the glass.
Thanks for your comment. I think, the